Final Fantasy Tactics has a wild amount of customization available. 20 generic jobs, each of which has its own active, reaction, passive, and movement skills. So let me take you through the jobs from worst to best. Only talking about generic jobs in this video. We'll talk about the special jobs like Ramza's Squire job and Cid's crazy bullshit broken job in another video. The first few jobs I'm going to talk about have very few overall redeemable qualities, not much to transfer to other units, and not jobs you want to park your character in. But just know that I'm not saying that the Bard has nothing awesome going on. It does have the Move +3 ability, one of the best movement skills in the game. And mobility is king in this game. That being said, I would rather skip over this job and just manage with Move +2 from the Thief or Teleport from the Time Mage. More on those later. The Bard is a male-only job, and it does have an interesting active ability in the Sing skill. These skills will increase your ally's stats, the most important one being speed. And speed is hugely important, because the more speed you have, the more turns you get. However, there are a couple of other jobs that can control speed much better, mainly because lowering enemy speed is better than raising your own. More on that later. And to add insult to injury, their stat growths are awful. And to be fair, if you're going to spend forever de-leveling and re-leveling as a better job, the Bard is a great candidate. But in terms of actual gameplay, so many jobs can do so much better. I almost put the Archer last, and it could have gone last. The Archer's active ability kind of sucks. It basically just increases the damage an attack does while giving it a delay, or a charge time. And because of that charge time, your Archer becomes super vulnerable to attacks. Charging units can't dodge attacks at all, which really sucks. And if they get knocked around, incapacitated, charmed, chickened, or anything else, the attack can just be cancelled. In addition, there is a much better long-range weapon available that I'll talk about in a bit. But what makes the Archer slightly better than the Bard are two abilities. First, Adrenaline Rush, which increases the unit's speed when it's hit with an attack. This skill is good, but not amazing. Reaction abilities activate based on your Brave stat, so a unit with high Brave might gain speed on every single enemy attack, but it also might fail if your unit's Brave is too low. The Archer also has the Concentrate ability. This makes enemies unable to dodge attacks. However, if your action has a less than 100% accuracy rate, it still might not hit, so it's probably better to just get behind your enemy instead. Concentrate is mostly useful to make it easier to steal from enemies and to lower their speed with Ren skills, which I'll talk about later, particularly since there's a reaction evasion ability that can completely negate the Concentrate ability. However, there's a broken weapon that is almost impossible to evade even without the Concentrate ability, so more on that in a bit. But there is one thing that I do appreciate about the Archer. If an Archer is up high and using a longbow, their range increases. That being said, the way story maps are set up, this often benefits the enemy more than the player, though circumstantially not great, but still a cool perk. If the Mystic happens to be your favorite job in the game, that's fine. I'm not saying it's bad. All of these jobs have something redeemable about them. And in fact, if you want to access some of the best jobs in the game, you need to grab some job levels for the Mystic anyway. But in terms of their abilities, pretty much everything they do can be out-jobbed by... what am I talking about here? But in terms of their abilities, pretty much everything they do can be out-jobbed by another unit in the game. But there are two abilities that can be really useful, especially when paired with arithmetics, which, yes, we will definitely discuss later. Hesitation is one of them, and it causes the Disable status. This can completely prevent a target from acting for several turns. But their best spell, from my perspective, is Trepidation. This spell reduces a target's bravery stat, and when bravery goes below 10, the target turns into a chicken. This means you can permanently disable enemies by repeatedly dropping their brave. So this kind of skill is broken, but there are so many units that do it better, one of which literally uses this skill to do it better, that I can't recommend you use this skill. At least not on the Mystic themselves. It pains me to put Geomancer this low on the list. I fucking love Geomancers. Their skills rely on the terrain your character is standing on. For example, if they're standing on grass, they can use Tanglevine. This does damage and has a chance of inflicting Stop. If you're standing in water, they can use Torrent, which does water damage and has a chance of inflicting Toad. However, while these attacks have great range and some reasonable versatility, compared to other jobs, the damage feels kind of weak. I also don't love that you have to be on a particular terrain to get maximal effect. I value consistency a lot, but what puts Geomancer just above the other jobs we already talked about is the attack up skill. As you might guess, this passive skill increases physical attack power, and the physical attack increase from that affects just about every physical attack. Now, this isn't a video about the special knights like Agrius, but it's important to know that this skill affects the damage of her sword skills in a big way. Same with all of the other unique knights. So it's definitely worth using, but not enough to boost this job up any higher. I originally had the white mage higher, but given the problematic nature of Caucasian illusionists— I'm kidding, guys, it's not that serious. Don't be a special snowflake touchy white people. I'm a part of this culture, I can make fun of it. Anyway, the white mage is a great early game unit. Curing your units is good. Reviving your units is even better. Casting auto life on them with the re-raise skill— perfection. And blasting enemies with your holy is also amazing. But given these positives, the negatives are kind of staggering. First, the white mage passive skills and reaction skills kind of suck. Magic defense up, I suppose, can save you, but if you can't kill your enemies, you just die. So I'd rather do more damage than take less. Also, it's just better to learn their skills and use them with a different unit. Yeah, you're gonna hear this a lot in this video. And even worse, there's another unit that kind of outjobs the white mage in terms of healing, and another that can outjob it in terms of both healing and offense. This placement is definitely a hot take, because the summoner is a good job. Learning the summons takes a while, and of course the Zodiac summon exists if you want to make the effort to get it. I need to make another video about summons, don't I? Anyway, the summons themselves are totally worth using. They have a large area of effect compared to other spells in the game, and they do ignore Reflect. And that's nice, but Reflect isn't that common in enemy status in this game. But the drawback is that MP-wise, they're expensive, which is why the summoner gets the have MP ability. And if you can't figure out what that ability does, I cannot help you. You need tutoring or something. But bigger than your issue understanding magic point economy is the fact that if you're playing this game right, you shouldn't need that much MP to kill your enemies. And it's far more important to kill your foes fast, even if you use up all your MP, than to save MP, because the summoner themselves is kind of squishy. And finally, there's one set of skills that can hit enemies without using any MP at all, but summon abilities do not synergize with that ability. And there's another job that just increases all magic damage with a skill, which is more useful. So I'm not using half MP, and there are other jobs in which my units are going to get parked. With the Dragoon, we venture into what I will excessively verbosely call jobs that have incredible inherited abilities but are still not going to be your final destination. Because the Dragoon has two abilities that can be worthwhile additions. The first is their active ability, Jump. When fully mastered, Jump has incredible range and can target a tile up to 8 spaces away. And range is extremely powerful because it means your enemies will have trouble hitting you. It also makes the unit invulnerable during the jump, which can be very powerful defensively. However, the weakness of this ability is that unlike many range skills, Jump can only target a tile. It can't target a unit. This means that if you jump and the enemy is able to move before the jump concludes, you're screwed. Especially if you're in this battle here and the enemy jumps onto the square you jumped from. Kind of a cool tech that shocked me and delighted me even though I was terrified. But more importantly, the Dragoon gets the Dragonheart ability. This will automatically cast auto life on the character if they get hit by a physical attack. Sadly though, as I mentioned before, the Brave stat is the percentage chance of a reaction command activating. So this doesn't have 100% activation. And there are other ways to get auto life that are more reliable. And broken record, if you kill things faster, you don't need auto life. So I don't think this job can go higher than 14. Some of you are probably surprised that this job isn't higher on the list, particularly since the Arithmetician has arguably the best skill in the game, Arithmetics. When you use this skill, you choose from 4 conditions: CT, height, level, and experience. Then you choose a factor, 3, 4, or 5, or you choose prime. And then you choose a spell. If the number of the condition you chose on a particular unit is a multiple of the number you chose, or is prime if you chose prime, the spell you chose will hit that unit, most of the time. And Arithmetics can hit multiple units on the field. But here's the kicker. The Arithmetic skill works with any white magic, black magic, time magic, or mystic magic, whatever that's called, your character has learned. So you can use it to cast re-raise on a bunch of characters, you can cast powerful black magic on a bunch of characters, or cause a bunch of characters to not be able to act. or reduce their brave, or, and this is probably my favorite, turn a bunch of units into toads. Honestly, any of those learned magics. And the best part is that the arithmetic skill uses 0 magic points. But here's the problem. Keeping your character in the arithmetician job absolutely sucks. It is abysmally slow, it has low magic power, and it is a huge liability for your team. So what you're going to want to do is use the next class to learn all the arithmetic so that you can equip it on another unit and then never use this job again. The generic squire job is actually insane, and like the other jobs in this section, you're probably not going to want to end up here. But the squire has a couple of excellent abilities and one completely broken ability. The first great ability it has is the JP up ability. As you might guess, if you equip this, you get more job points. Definitely worth it to stay in this class until you've learned this ability so that all of your other classes can benefit. It also gets the Move +1 ability. This is the earliest movement increase possible in the game, and it will be replaced, but at the time you get it, it's extremely valuable. And the squire also gets the Dash ability. This ability just deals damage to an enemy by dashing into it. It doesn't use a weapon to do so, but I have never seen this ability miss. In fact, I don't think it can miss, and you might think this ability is mediocre. But here's the thing. The squire's most broken ability is Focus. Focus increases attack power by 1. It has no chance of failure, it has no MP cost, and it can be used an unlimited number of times. And it will always give you experience, it will always give you JP, and it can be used by literally any unit in the game. And the extra attack power you gain with this ability is probably most useful if you have a strong physical unit. But in combination with the Dash ability, this is amazing. Because first, some enemies have huge evasion stats, and the Tackle ability will just about always hit. But secondly, there are many weapons whose damage is not affected by the physical attack stat. So by having Dash available, you can still get a huge benefit, particularly if you're able to gain a massive attack boost. Don't sleep on fundaments, people. While I don't think most people will do this, the Knight is the first job that might be a good parking space for your unit and also has great skills. While the Knight does learn the Equip Sword ability, Knights and Knights alone are able to equip the Knight Swords. These are special swords that often give extra abilities, the most powerful of which is probably the Excalibur's Auto Haste. And this is crucial because the Knight is pretty gosh darn slow. But you can also give the Knight the ability to dual wield, which we'll talk more about later, allowing them to do some huge damage. That being said, I don't think the damage is even the best use case for the Knight because the Knight's active skills are insane. Well, one in particular. Rend Speed. If Rend Speed hits, it decreases the enemy's speed by 2. And if you can hit just 2 to 3 times with Rend Speed, the enemy's turn count will be completely decimated. I spoke about the Bard earlier who can raise ally speed every turn with a Sing ability. But the thing is, lowering enemy speed is far more impactful in terms of reducing the number of enemy turns compared to yours. But what holds the Knight back is simply the economy of Knight Swords. There are non-generic Knight type units who have absolutely massive damage potential with Knight Swords, so if I'm going to use a generic unit, I probably don't want to have them wielding one. It's going to go to someone with a more powerful skill, like Agrius, Cid, or Beowulf. And again, more on these guys in another video. Thieves are yet another job where you could choose to park your units. You probably shouldn't, but thieves do have some advantages. They have high speed, good movement, and some crazy skills. Skills that are, of course, used better on other units. They do just fine with their regular stealing moves, though. They're able to take weapons, accessories, gil, EXP, and armor, and the speed stat determines how likely they are to succeed. But they also have access to an ability that does not use the speed stat, Steal Heart. This ability inflicts the charm status, and the charm status is extremely damaging when it lands. It doesn't strictly recruit the unit, but it does, for 3 turns, cause the unit to act as if it's on your team. And charmed units will use not only their attacks, but also their skills as if they're on your team, meaning they might cure your units, haste them, or buff them in some other way. Or they might just blast your enemies with powerful magic. Or my personal favorite, which happened on my first playthrough, they might just steal from the enemy. I have not determined, though, if your team gets the stolen equipment in this case. Gotta check my inventory. Anyway, way, Steelheart's success is partially based on the magic stat. But even so, high speed is actually more important because it means more uses and therefore more chances to succeed. And if you do succeed, that means you get another chance to charm another unit. I'm planning a challenge run where I don't do any damage to enemies, and this skill is going to be one of the keys. But anyway, the thief itself has 2 more skills that are enormous boons. The first is move +2. As you might expect, this increases a unit's movement by 2 spaces. Literally any unit can use this to great effect. Yes, the bard does have move +3, but then you have to be a bard. So don't do that, just use this instead. And finally, the thief also gets the poach ability. This allows your character to poach any monster they kill, and some of the weapons and armor you can get from poaching are enormous. This skill is extremely worth it. I still think we're somewhat in the realm of don't park your unit in this job, but the Time Mage would definitely be an effective late game unit if you love them. And the reason for that is access to reliable time magic that can really amp up your game. Using haste on your units will increase the number of turns you get, and the Time Mage can pretty easily cast it on 3 units with little difficulty. Getting up to 4 or 5 can take a bit more effort for positioning, but it is extremely worth it if you can do it. And of course, the Time Mage can also use the arithmetic skill to gain access to any other spell in the game and cast it on other enemies, or on your allies. And the ally thing is important because the Time Mage also has access to the critical quick ability. This reaction ability gives your character an immediate turn if they reach critical HP. A percentage chance based on Brave, of course, so not effective 100% of the time. But with a cool setup that isn't really relevant to people playing the game at all normally, you can use arithmetics to reactivate critical quick infinitely, giving the enemy 0 turns. Beyond that though, critical quick is kind of a rough sell though, since I prefer to keep units healthy. The Time Mage also gains the swiftness passive. This decreases the charge time of spells and therefore makes your units less vulnerable while casting. This ability is probably best used by summoners, but it can also help your units cast powerful spells more quickly. And since the Time Mage also gets Meteor, which takes forever to charge, why are there sirens outside? That's very rude. Where's the fire, guys? And since the Time Mage also gets Meteor, which takes forever to charge, this can be crucial to making the spell hit. And finally, the Time Mage gets Teleport. This movement skill changes your walking into teleporting. And while it does have a chance to fail, it has a 100% success rate if you move your character within their horizontal move range. But you can make a gamble to move further if you're feeling lucky. But Teleport doesn't care about vertical range or obstacles. And there is one battle in particular, the battle with Gafgarion, in which Teleport can allow your characters to join Ramza and blitz him. Teleport is, in my opinion, the best movement skill in the game. But the problem is, there's another mage that, in my opinion, is better than the Time Mage and should be the final resting ground for any magical unit. I can already feel the anger emanating from all of you, because the mime does in fact have amazing stats, and it does one thing: everything. A mime immediately copies almost any action taken by a human ally. This includes things like positioning, meaning that if your archer attacks a unit 5 tiles away, the mime will attack the same tile in relation to them 5 units away. Same with magic, healing items, or really anything. And this mimicry is incredibly powerful. The problem is that it takes tremendous coordination to use a mime effectively. If an enemy moves, your mime is no longer in the right position to attack them or to use a short-range ability on them. But the power is there, and for that reason, the mime is pretty high on my personal list of the best jobs. And by the way, if you like hearing me ramble about video games, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You're not going to find videos like this anywhere else. But if you do, can you let me know? Because I'd like to watch them. The Monk is the first job that I am confident is a good place to park a character. I haven't spoken about this yet, but several jobs have innate passive abilities that influence how they play. The Mime actually has several, including one that the Monk has, but the lack of control over the Mime's actions can make it difficult to use. Circling back to the Monk though, the Monk innately has the Brawler ability, which has a couple of effects. Most obviously, this increases the strength of attacks while barehanded, but it also has a secondary effect. It increases the likelihood of success when stealing. It is often better to use a weapon, but some enemies can destroy your weapon, and you might want another character to use your strongest weapon anyway. And the Monk's skills, which are actually extremely powerful, are also enhanced by the Brawler ability. The job has a panoply of offensive skills, some of which increase its range in ways other units can only wish for. But it doesn't end there, because Monks also have supportive abilities. First, they have Chakra, which restores HP HP and MP for the unit and surrounding units. This is one of the few sources of free MP restoration in the game. But even better, the monk also gets access to the revive ability. The success rate of this ability is dependent on the unit's physical attack power, and it has no actual cost besides the turn itself. So whether on the monk or another unit, martial arts are super useful. And one more thing. The monk learns the counter reaction ability, which counterattacks. But more importantly, it also learns the first strike ability, which is an upgraded counter ability. This will cause a counterattack before the enemy can strike. It's powerful for the monk themselves, and it's also powerful to use on long-range units, allowing you to gun down other long-range attackers. I personally never use this because I'm more of an active player, but I do appreciate its potential. The dancer is the female counterpart of the bard, and the dancer's abilities are completely broken. When the dancer dances, she can lower the stats of enemies. All enemies on the field. And as you might expect, the most important stat to lower is speed, because then your enemy gets 0 turns. Okay, they get some turns, but not many. This is completely broken. While the dancer's stat growths are low, it doesn't really matter. The dancer is there to support the team in the most ridiculous way possible, by completely incapacitating the enemy. And finally, like the bard, they can gain the move +3 ability, hugely useful. This class is busted, whether you keep a character in the class or use their skills elsewhere. The samurai is, in my opinion, the weirdest job in Final Fantasy Tactics. In order to activate their ability, Bushido, you need only have the correct katana in your inventory. It doesn't need to be equipped. Then they raise the katana to the sky and unleash the skill. They can use Bushido to heal, deal damage, inflict status effect, and imbue buffs like Protect and Shell. Unfortunately, their abilities have a chance of breaking katanas, and there are some rare katanas that you can't obtain an infinite number of. But what makes the samurai truly unique is the Blade Grasp ability. This counter ability allows your character to evade any physical attack. The higher your Brave stat, the more likely it is to activate. Beyond that though, nothing on this unit is hugely broken, but what I just talked about is broken enough to elevate the samurai to number 5. Now, don't crucify me for this. The chemist being at number 4 is really going to ruffle some feathers, I know. But the fact is that the chemist has so much going for it, particularly once you've mastered a bunch of jobs. Items are the most consistent way to restore HP and revive allies, and the chemist innately has the item throw ability. This allows them to throw items up to 3 spaces away. No charge time, just chuck a phoenix down at a fallen friend to revive them. And this ability can be transferred to another unit. And it's very rare that I go into a battle without at least one character equipped with the item ability. Your white mage is vulnerable while charging, and your white magic can fail if a character's faith is too low. And the robot units, who are really cool and deserve more attention, have no faith. So they're completely unaffected by magic, and you can only heal them with potions or non-faith-based skills. But if that were all, the chemist wouldn't be that high on my list. But for some reason, Tactics gave chemist guns. And guns, in my opinion, are the best weapon in the game. They have a range of 8, and every ability that uses a weapon can be channeled through a gun. The most important ones being rend skills, those guys that can lower an enemy's speed. And okay, now I'm reconsidering whether the chemist should be lower than the dancer, since the dancer can just lower everyone's speed, but I think it's too late. So let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe a dancer with the item command is better, but you could also just give the chemist the dance command, I guess. Okay, I'm sticking with number 4. It's over. The chemist also learns the auto potion ability, which can just completely automate their own healing. Just sell all of your lower level potions and they'll use an X potion on themselves every time. Super useful. But yeah, giving chemist guns was a mistake. Guns are broken, which brings us to the top 3. And another unit that can also use a gun. I had a lot of trouble ordering the top 3, and I don't really want to put the order at number 3. It's my personal number 1, but I just think 2 other jobs edge it out. So for my sake, take the order of this top 3 with a grain of salt. The order has a ridiculous number of things going for it. It is the ultimate job of consolidation. First, it's yet another job that can use guns, but the orator also has the speechcraft ability, which in my opinion is the most broken skill in the game because of 2 things. First, they can use Intimidate to lower a target's Brave. Very rarely do enemies have Brave stats above 70, so a maximum of 3 of these will transform your enemy into a chicken, completely disabling them. And second, once they're a chicken, or before if you're feeling spicy, you can use the Entice ability. This ability literally recruits the enemy to your team permanently. And if you can't see why this is broken, I don't think we're living in the same universe. Because once the unit is yours, you can do so many things. If it's a human unit, you can just wait until the end of the battle and then steal their equipment. Then you can release them if you're not thrilled with them. Or, my personal favorite, you can let the unit die with no resistance, let them turn into a crystal, and then steal all of their abilities, accelerating your own unit's development. And if it's a monster, because the Orator innately can talk to monsters and no one else can without inheriting the monster's speech ability, they will automatically breed as you walk around the map and create higher level monsters. And then you can use the Thief's Poach ability to poach that monster and get whatever item it has available, with no resistance. Maybe I need another video about monsters as well. I probably should have put the ninja at number 1. It is irreparably broken, and not just because of one ability. The toxically positive miasma that surrounds the ninja makes it absolutely terrifying. So let's start small. The ninja has the best speed in the game, and the best speed growth in the game. So at base, the ninja is going to run circles around most other units. There is, in fact, one battle in the game where a very stupid NPC tries to run herself through, and the solution is often just to have a ninja move first and take one of the enemies out. The ninja also has 5 movement. This is tremendous. And if you give the ninja an ability that increases their movement, they will use it incredibly well, because the ninja also has the most broken passive ability in the game, Dual Wield. And once again, if you can't see how this would be broken, you are in serious need of help. Seek out a doctor. Not me. I don't want to be your doctor. But just for the sake of argument, let's talk about my favorite use of the ninja. Remember when we talked about the knight and its rend speed ability, and how you can use that with a gun to ruin a unit's speed from far away? Well, what if you just took an extraordinarily fast unit, gave it 2 swords, had them run up behind another unit, and then they were able to reduce the unit's speed twice? Well, that's the ninja. If you use them right, they can absolutely destroy the other units on the field, making them unable to take any turns at all. Or perhaps you're just feeling impatient and just want to end the battle quickly. I mean, literally just whack them twice with 2 ninja swords. It's really that simple. Yup. This is the one, the unit capable of blasting everyone to bits. But here's the thing. The Black Mage's offensive dominance is not entirely the result of its own power, but their native power is actually pretty great. The Black Mage has access to a panoply of offensive spells along with the highest magic stat in the game. So from the outset, they're big and blasty. And because their skills have excellent area of effect, it's not unusual for them to take out 2 to 3 units in a single hit. And sure, Black Mages are a little slow, but in a way, this kind of benefits them. I mentioned before that every spell has a charge-up time, and enemies can hit you while you're charging up. But if you move just a little bit slower than everybody else, you can move last, cast your spell, and then it'll pop off while they're waiting for their next turn. And then they will no longer be waiting for their next turn, if you know what I mean. But if you're clever, and I know you are, just look at you. You may not be pretty, but you're definitely clever. You'll have your Black Mage equip Arithmetics. Because yes, any unit can use this skill and use it well. But when a Black Mage uses Arithmetics, all of their weaknesses go away. Picture this. Your enemies are on the other side of the stage, completely unaware of your presence, and all of a sudden they're hit by a massive Thundaga spell. And I say all of a sudden because Arithmetics go off immediately, meaning there's no way an enemy can interrupt it. And if just doing damage isn't trendy enough for you, you could also choose to use the Frog spell on them. Alternatively, you could use the Mystic's Trepidation to lower your enemy's Brave by 30. And if you're able to do that just a couple of times, boom, your enemies are powerless chickens. And to be able to do this without even approaching the enemy is completely busted, bonkers, and outrageous. And if you want to watch more of my Final Fantasy content, you're gonna have to use Arithmetics on this playlist right here. And just like the Black Mage, you don't even have to move to do so. Bye.